Hello, welcome back to Cascadia Inswinger. Today, Portland and Seattle are back in action. So we're going to be talking about those games in just a moment. First, we'll do a quick review of the big Cascadia game that happened on Sunday. Unfortunately, my partner Eddie could not be in the show today. He's busy working, and so we were unable to make our schedules work out. But we figured we should get some content out to you guys, especially considering that Cascadia match was a great one to watch, and we learned a lot about both teams. I know he's disappointed that he couldn't be here to do the show, but hopefully we can get together soon for the next Cascadia game and he can give us his thoughts then. I'm going to just give you 3 points about this Cascadia matchup that I noticed, since I could sit here and talk about this all day. The Sounders won 3-0, but the game was, for the most part, a lot closer than that scoreline would say. It was sloppy for most of the first half, and I even think the second half was a little bit sloppy. It definitely opened up after the first goal by Ruidiaz, which was a gorgeous little toe poke, although some would argue that it was an own goal, not actually a goal by Ruidiaz, but it just depends on your perspective. I would say that one of the main things I took out of this is that the Timbers' tactics are so clean and so precise tactically on what they want to do that in order to beat them, you're going to get ugly games like this. I don't think that a team can come in and actually play really pretty football and expect to beat them. And the reason I think that is because the way that they play, they have such a clear plan. They know where they're going to move their opponents when they're on defense so that when they win the ball, they can transition quickly. And so if you're going to be an opposing team going against them, like Seattle was, you're going to try to avoid turning over the ball in areas where Portland can counter and get out on the transition. That means maybe forcing the ball in certain areas like Seattle did, which creates kind of a sloppy game. And I think from Portland's perspective, knowing that teams are going to do that and try to force the ball into areas that Portland might not necessarily want the ball to go, that they're going to get the ball to turn over in areas that are different than what they're used to. And if they could figure out how to turn that into positive action on the other end, which they weren't able to do against Seattle, then you could see Portland turning this game around and actually being able to find better opportunities. But until then, I think if you're a Timbers fan and you are playing at home, you can expect pretty sloppy games, or else Portland's going to end up winning on the transition. So that's the good news. The second big thing I take away from this is that the Sounders are in their typical midseason development phase where things are really starting to come together. We saw Joao Paulo in the midfield, and he created a little bit more stability in that midfield and made it so that the defense didn't look as vulnerable as it had in the past. And that's great news for them going forward. Sounders teams have always thrived on having a solid defense, which allows players like Nico Ladero and Jordan Morris to get out on the attack and not have to defend as much. But when the defense is not playing as well, they typically drop back a little bit further, and it causes problems. So if the Sounders can continue to develop that stability in the back line, Joao Paulo and Gustav Svensson will handle the middle no problem. Which brings me to one other point that I don't like about this, though, is that I don't think the Christian Roldan experiment out wide is working. I don't think it's the best place for him, but essentially they're 3 deep in the middle and they only have 2 spots. So do you leave Roldan on the bench and put Handwalla Bwana out on the wing because he's a little bit more pacey and can take people one-on-one a little bit better? I don't know. That's a tough decision for Seattle. It's good knowing that if Svensson, Roldan, or Joao Paulo were to miss an extended period of time, you'd still have 2 of the 3 in the middle. So they're safe in that regard. But it is tough trying to get all 3 of them on the field and make it look cohesive. So that's something I'm going to be looking out for going forward. The third thing, and kind of my last comment on this, is does home field advantage matter? And it's more of like a a question after watching the games that have happened over the last week. I saw the LAFC lost at home, a place they don't lose very often. Portland lost at home, a place they don't lose very often. So it's something to watch out for as the games move on to see if home field advantage is essentially nullified by the fact that there's no fans in the stands. So that's my quick take on that Cascadia matchup. Both Seattle and Portland are in action against California teams today. Portland will be facing San Jose down in San Jose at 7:30 this afternoon, or this evening, I should say. And Seattle will be facing the L.A. Galaxy at 8 o'clock. We have seen both of these opponents during the MLS's back tournament. Portland played the Galaxy during the knockout round, and Seattle played San Jose, or not the knockout round, excuse me, during the group stage. And Seattle played San Jose during the group stage. So it's a flip-flop of the teams. When Portland goes down to San Jose, I actually think this game favors Portland in a lot of ways. The main way is that San Jose just let go of their midfielder, Magnus Eriksson. He headed back to Sweden, and he was a key piece in San Jose's semifinal run in the MIB. Don't forget, San Jose actually played really well in that tournament and ended up losing in the semifinals to that Orlando squad. So, lost in the quarterfinals to Minnesota. Excuse me there. So this San Jose squad is a decent team. They know how to play their soccer, but Portland, like I said, they're just tactically too clean. And I think they're going to be able to abuse San Jose's man marking system. A couple players that I really wanted to point out going into this game against San Jose. Andy Polo is projected to start on the left, and I'm pretty excited about that because he scored that gorgeous goal of the tournament for the MIB tournament against NYCFC. And I think his confidence is going to really start to go up, and I would hope he scores another goal here soon and see if he can really become a big part of this Portland offense. Another key player I want to look at is Zuparic is back from his personal leave. He was unable to play in the game against Seattle because of a personal issue or something personal happened. So he's back, and that puts Portland back in pretty much their lineup they had for most of the tournament. So that'll be good to see. All in all, I've got Portland winning this one by a scoreline of 2-1. I do hope to see Chris Wondolowski. I've enjoyed watching him play. He's at the tail end of his career. He scored a few goals during that MIB tournament, and I just love watching the guy play, and he loves to score against Cascadia. So it'd be cool to see him play. He can score that goal for San Jose as long as Portland gets that W. As for the other game we have tonight, Seattle will be going down to the L.A. Galaxy. And this game is very interesting because both teams are coming off of big wins against their rivals. L.A. Galaxy went on the road and beat LAFC on Saturday. So both of them are coming off of big road wins against rivals after having disappointing tournament showings. So I expect this game to be a good testing ground for both teams. The big question mark, and I think the answer will be no, is will Chicharito play tonight? All projections are pointing to no. He did not play in the last game of the MLS's back tournament. He did not play on Saturday against LAFC. He has a calf injury or a shin injury, or I can't remember exactly, but he is been knocked up for a little bit now. The person replacing him is homegrown Ethan Zubak, who scored the first goal against LAFC on Saturday, and that was actually his first goal ever. So he's an exciting young prospect to watch as this season plays out. The other question mark will be whether or not Jonathan Dos Santos, who is the other DP star player for LA Galaxy, will see extended minutes. He came off the bench against LAFC, played about 5-6 minutes in that game. People are expecting his minutes to get upped, but he won't quite start. As for the Seattle side, LA Galaxy have always been a tough match, but Seattle is expected to play the same lineup that they had against Portland, or at least something very similar to that. I think the only change up they might make is Nuhu in place of Jovan Jones. I think that's what the projections are currently. Because of that consistency, I expect Seattle to come out and be the better team in this game. And I actually have Seattle winning this one by a scoreline of 2-0. I don't see the Galaxy getting a goal against the Sounders if their defense plays as well as it did against Portland. So that's my thoughts on the Cascadia matchup and my predictions for the games. Maybe I can give Eddie a ring and he can take a minute from work to post his projections in the comment section. But if not, you guys are all free to share your comments in the comment section. Let me know what you think about the Cascadia game. Let me know what you think about the matchups coming up. And as always, go Cascadia.